What's going on, golfers and gamers? Welcome to the channel. My name is Kyle. If you like golf and you like video games, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Got a great video for you today. We're going to be going over some tips and tricks for the new EA Sports PGA Tour. And whether you're coming from zero golf experience and zero golf video games or thousands of hours of golfing and golf video games, I'm going to have something in this video that can help you out. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like button and let's get into it. When you first boot up your game, I suggest making your way over to the Settings tab and deciding what playstyle you want to play on. In EA Sports PGA Tour, they offer a few different presets to select from, and they also let you select a custom playstyle. Presets range from Arcade, Pro, Tour to Simulation. I find myself playing on a combination or a custom playstyle, where I turn it on Tour, I bump the difficulty up, I leave all the arcade stuff off, and I turn tap-ins on. If you find you're struggling with putting, specifically distance control, I suggest taking a look at the putting aim point setting and setting it to assisted aim. This will have your caddy aim the marker at the correct distance control, and all you have to worry about is the left and right. It's great if you are struggling on the green. After you've selected your gameplay settings and decided the style you want to play on, I suggest taking a look at the visual tab. Now, I'm going to start by saying EA has recently released a blog post stating they were going to be adding some additional camera features to the game, and I believe that's something we're going to be seeing soon. If all remains the same, you're going to be changing your camera in this tab. On the visual tab, you can set your camera defaults here. And one other thing I wanted to point out to you was the hole out effects. This is turned off by default. This is something I actually enjoy having on. When you hold the ball out, a little animation pops out of the hole saying what score you got, whether it's a bogey, birdie, a par. I enjoy it, gets the endorphins going. This is also where you'll be turning on and off your big hit moments and your heartbeat moment animations. Definitely take a look at this screen before hopping into the game. Make sure you're playing it the way you want. Some of the last settings I wanted to go over are specifically related to your career. When you go to the career mode, you can press triangle on your PlayStation, and it will bring you to your PGA Tour seasonal settings, and you can change these at any point in time during your career. You can adjust your AI scoring difficulty, whether you're playing with the AI all the time, never, or just during the final rounds. You can adjust your season length and how many holes you are playing during each round. I find myself playing a quick round during the regular season events, and it's about 4 or 5 holes, put you in the middle of the golf course in some tough moments, and it makes the career go a little quicker. I have my majors set to full rounds just because I love the presentation. I like having full control of the majors, and I always want to win them. I find these particular settings I have right now make for a very, very good challenging career mode, where the regular PGA Tour events, I never blow away the scoreboards. That only happens when I'm playing the majors. And every now and then I'll even bump up the AI scoring difficulty on those majors. Again, I highly suggest taking a look at this tab and getting your career settings the way you want so you can really enjoy the career mode, be immersed, and get the most out of it. Now let's take a look at our character. In the top right of the screen, you can see I'm level 47, and the best way to earn XP in the game is simply playing holes and completing challenges. Now we'll get into more depth in the challenges later, but simply playing holes nets you about 1000 XP per hole, plus a bonus XP for every time you shape the shot, get close approaches, or make anything better than par. When you level up, you're going to get 2 skill points, and you're going to begin spending them on this talent tree. Now, it's a little cumbersome at first, but it's really not that complicated. Power, driving, approach, short game, and putting, and each one of these has little nodes in it that unlock shots. Now, each shot has a requirement, and some require more than one spec to have multiple nodes unlocked. As you can see, the runner requires short game control 8 and short game accuracy 7 for the gold runner. If you're just getting into the game and maybe your stick controls aren't quite on point yet, you might find yourself putting a few points into short game. I suggest unlocking the spinner and the pick pretty early if you're not hitting a lot of greens. And for everybody that's struggling with finding spin and keeping the ball on the greens in the game, I suggest putting quite a few points into your approach control. This is what increases the natural spin and the amount of spin you can put post-shot if you're playing on arcade and pro. If you combine points with approach control and power, this is how you start to create a lot of spin and can start to spin golf balls back when they land on the green. Now, speaking of power, it costs a lot of points to upgrade your power. Power is always going to be one of the most important things. This increases the natural amount of spin that you create on the ball as well as the distance you hit it. As we approach the end game of this, I do imagine a lot of us are going to start taking points out of short game and maxing out those approach controls and accuracy, as well as the driving approach control and the power. I do imagine a lot of us are going to keep at least 3 points in the Texas wedge, keep that unlocked. But again, I suggest building your character the way you want. I'm always probably going to have my character very similar to my real life. I feel like I do have a good short game. I have a really solid approach game, and driving is the weakest part of my real life game. So that's how I built my character. The last thing I wanted to point out in the golfer tab, if you go to your identity, after you've created your character, you can still change the characteristics of your character's swing. All you have to do is go to swing style, and you can change those things here. I do have my ball trajectory set to high because this does make the ball sit softer and make it easier to check on the green. And I have my swing tempo set to fast as I kind of flick the stick. Now we'll get more into stick controls later, but if you do find yourself on the golf course hitting something consistently slow or maybe consistently fast, you may want to come to this tab and change your swing tempo to match what you're doing on the course. Aside from cosmetics, what you're going to be spending most of your virtual currency on is the in-game specs. Now you put these specs on your golf ball, your drivers, all your clubs all have a spec. You equip the specs in your golfers tab, in the equipment, and you have to individually, one by one, go through every single club and equip the spec. If you think putting the spec on your 4-iron is good enough, you are wrong. You do have to go through every individual club and equip the spec. Again, it is one spec and you can equip it to all of the clubs. You do not have to buy all of the specs for all of the clubs. As you can see, I have Matsuyama's wedge specs as well as his iron specs, and I have Dustin Johnson's driver spec. The specs are very expensive, so do make sure you're participating in those dailies and weeklies. Get the VC, be buying the specs. You also earn the specs through challenges and completing quests. While we're still on the topic of building our character, let's talk about those challenges and tournaments a little bit. Again, challenges are one of the best way to build out your character as far as earning XP and earning money in VC in the game. This game is really good about adding challenges live during tournaments. As you can see, we have the 2023 Masters here, and you get a lot of XP as well as in-game currency when you complete these challenges. They're a ton of fun, and when you're playing them, I suggest putting it on arcade mode. It's going to make it a lot easier to complete them, as a lot of them are pretty difficult. A lot of them require you to make shots, and it's just much easier on arcade mode. Make sure you're playing those challenges, doing the live ones, as they have great rewards such as cosmetics as well as those currencies and XPs. Talk about the daily tournaments, weekly tournaments, and seasonal tournaments real quick as well. I always suggest playing in the daily 4-hole arcade tournament. You're going to get about 4,000 to 5,000 XP when you play in it, and you're going to get about 500 to 1,500 VC every day when you play in it. That is fantastic. It costs nothing to get into, and it has great rewards. As you look at the 4-hole pro and the back 9 tour, these do cost 1,000 and 2,000 VC to get into, but the rewards are the tickets. When you unlock the tickets and start accumulating tickets, you'll unlock the ability to play in the weekly events. And these are 9-hole and 18 holes for the tour mode, and these will net you tons of money, as well as that XP that we all want while we're grinding. The seasonal tournaments go on that same ticket system, but they cost tons more tickets, and once a month you get to do an all 18 sim tournament for free, and you get 2 entries. Now you can see the entries are unlimited, but they cost tickets. So the more daily tournaments you're paying VC to get into and winning, the more tickets you will have. Therefore, the more opportunities you will have to play in and win the weekly and seasonal tournaments. This is how you're going to unlock all of that VC. This is where the VC grind kicks in. This is how you're going to go on those shopping sprees in the store. Make your character look exactly the way you want. Now real quick, I just wanted to show you guys all the different shot types, and I'll leave a link to this resource in the description of the video. But there's a couple I wanted to show you specifically that I highly suggest unlocking, as they are very, very useful in the game. The first one I'll talk about is that Texas wedge. This is what allows you to putt from off the green. If you do not have this shot type unlocked, you will not be allowed to putt from off the green. Another really important one is the pick, as this is the shot that spins out of the bunker and allows you to get it pretty close, pretty accurately, pretty often. Now the blast is still useful out of the bunker, but the pick is going to be very easy for a lot of people to use. The other one I really wanted to suggest people get is this knockdown shot. This is a very, very useful golf. If you're a real life golfer, you know that. This is a lower shot that has a lot of spin. It's useful for keeping the ball under the wind, and it's great for chasing pins that are in the back of the green. It takes one hop and it stops. Very useful. I highly suggest unlocking it. Again, all of these shot types I'll have in the description below this resource we're looking at. And just in a moment, we're going to get into the gameplay and show you how to use a couple of them. All right, so we're finally on the golf course, and let's talk about making a good swing in the game. Now this is swing stick only. I will say there is an update coming soon, as we saw from the blog post, that EA is putting in a 3-click system. But for now, we have the swing stick. Here's my suggestions for you guys. Get a consistent grip. I always hold the controller the exact same way. I swing with my left thumb and my left hand, so I kind of hold it slightly off to the side, kind of on this angle, so my thumb operates very up and down. This game has a good vibration feedback if you're off playing, so I like to pull the stick back a couple times just to find that center of the stick. I pull it back and I give it a little flick. As you can see in the feedback, the swing plane was very straight. My tempo was a little off, but certainly nothing that hurt us. And I do this every single time. I have that little routine I go through. I make sure I hold the controller the same way every single time. Make sure we hit the right shot here. A little uphill, a little downwind. Find that grip. And let's give it a go. Very straight swing plane. We're right on tempo. And we have a really good shot. Guys, I really hope that helps. I know there's a lot of other methods out there. I've heard of using 2 thumbs to push a stick. I've heard of using a finger to guide the stick. But do make sure you're doing the same thing every single time. Be consistent with your grip, and you can start to expect consistent shots. Now let's talk about lie angles and wind. Anytime you have the golf ball above your feet, if you're a left-handed golfer like myself, it's going to start to the right, most likely with a draw. If it's below my feet, it would be the opposite. If you're a right-handed golfer and the ball is above your feet, it's going to start more to the left with a draw. If the ball is below your feet, it's most likely going to start further right, most likely with a cut. This is very important to understand, especially as you start to factor in wind with your shots. So here we're presented at TPC Sawgrass, 16th hole, second shot into this par 5. The wind is going right to left pretty significantly, and it's also going to help this ball out. The ball is way above my feet here, so I know this is going to start a little right, and it's most likely going to have a draw shape on it. With the wind working against that, this is probably going to straighten out pretty well. I don't want to put this one in the water or aim it too far out. This is probably going to be pretty good. I want this to carry about 170, 77, 178, so this is about right. A little downhill. Give it a good swing. You can see it kind of had that little draw start. The wind's just kind of holding it. And we have a good shot here. Again, really important to understand when the ball is above or below your feet, it's not only going to make the ball start a certain way, but it's going to affect the shot shape. It's going to most likely create a certain shape based off of that lie angle. When you're looking on the greens, it's really important to be looking at where the ball is in relationship to your feet as well, as this is going to determine where the ball starts on the line, and it will also help you read the greens if the beads are lying to you. Now this is something they're going to be addressing in the game, but as we look at this putt right now, it's very level. As I aim more to the right, the ball gets further below my feet, so we can insinuate this ball is going to go right to left pretty much the whole way. Not going to be much, so we're not going to give it crazy amounts. Just like that. There we go. Now let's talk in a little more detail about wind calculation. Now understand you can math this out, but you have to have a really good understanding of how the wind affects the ball through the course of its trajectory. The higher you hit the ball, the more the wind will affect it. And this goes the same thing over a great distance. If we're hitting the ball really high over a great distance, the wind has a lot of time to affect the golf ball, therefore it will move it more. If we have a short shot that we're hitting low, the wind will not affect it very much. Here we're presented on TPC Sawgrass 17th hole, 142 to the pin, quartering into the wind left to right significantly. We have a wedge in our hand. This ball is going to get up in the air. The wind is going to affect this a great deal. It is not 1 mile per hour equals 1 square left or anything like that. Again, it is dynamic, but you can start to get a good understanding once you understand how to control the trajectory and play with these winds. Now in this game you can use different shot types to affect the trajectory, as well as use that stick to flatten the apex or raise the apex of the shot. Here we got a shot that I think was best with a 9-iron, not quite a knockdown, but something a little finessed. We're going to flight this down just a touch, flatten that apex, put it up plenty high. We have a slope that feeds it down to the pin. This looks about right to me. I don't think we're going to be flirting with the water too much. I think we got the distance pretty well dialed. Going right at it. Just a touch long from the overswing. But boy, is that a good looking shot. So I hope that helps you guys understand how the wind works a little bit and how to start to calculate that. And it's not one-to-one. It's a decent place to start, and then start to factor in, well, how high am I hitting it? How low am I hitting? I hope that helps. Let's talk about putting just a touch here. As we can see, the ball is below our feet. We can see these beads moving pretty significantly right to left. We can expect this to go right to left. This is a downhill putt. You're going to hit it a little shorter, a little softer. Anytime you're hitting a ball softer across a slope and it doesn't have a lot of speed, the slope will make it break more. And this is the opposite when you're hitting it uphill. We're hitting it uphill and having a lot of power and putting a lot of speed on the golf ball, it will break less across that slope. This is really important to understand as you're trying to read the greens. I also think it's really important to try to find the high side of the cup. Instead of looking at the hole and the entirety of it, look at the hole like a clock and try to make it at a specific time on the clock according to the slope. So as we look at this putt, again, right to left, I'm looking at about 5 or 430 is where I want to make this ball into the cup. This is going to give you the biggest margin for error. I know if this ball hits anything low of, say, 6:30, 7 o'clock on the cup, it's going to lip out. We want to give it its best chance. We're going to get it high. We know that the slope is going to make it break. Might be a little too much. Looks pretty good to me. Get a good stroke on it. And there we go, right where we wanted it. Guys, I really do hope that helps with your putting and your wind calculations. So that brings us to the end of this one, golfers. If you found any of this useful, make sure you hit that like button. If you think I left something out or you got something to add, leave it in the comments. If you ever need help with anything golf related, I'm streaming over on Twitch 5-6 days a week. I'm live at 8 p.m. Eastern almost every single night. Good luck on the links, everybody. I'll see you out there. Peace.